for a little bit more on this gathering of the heads of state of these southern African countries. We're now joined via Zoom by Paulina Mbala Elago, who's the Southern African Customs Union Executive Secretary. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Peter, and good evening to your viewers.
All right, let's help our viewers straight away and just teach us, SACU, what it is and what it does.
SACU stands for Southern African Customs Union. It is a customs union amongst 5 member states, being Botswana, Lesotho, Eswatini, Namibia, South Africa. And it is a customs union, which means we have a level of integration which entails free movements of goods. There are no duties, and we have a common external tariff. By definition, that is a customs union. So there's free movement of goods amongst our member states, and of course also we have a common external tariff, which basically means we apply the same duties to imports that are coming into the common customs area. It's been established in 1910. It's the oldest customs union in the world, but of course dating from colonial times. It has been transformed, and through the 2002 SACU agreement, we have established institutions such as the SACU Secretariat, we have the Summit as the highest authority, and then the Council of Ministers, which comprises Ministers of Trade and Finance, which is the highest policy-making body supported by a permanent secretary, principal secretaries, or DGs in the case of South Africa, who are responsible for trade and finance. Ultimately, our objective is to increase economic development amongst our member states through deepening regional integration.
All right, so with all of that as a great background, when the President of Botswana, Masisi, says seamless movement of goods between member states is required for us to achieve our SACU objectives, what more needs to be done to get us where we want to go? Well,
a lot more needs to be done, and we have, as one of our priorities, trade facilitation and logistics, which means we want to improve processes, procedures, the regulatory framework, and also introduce technology to facilitate the cross-border movement of goods. And in doing so, reduce the costs, enhance efficiency, and of course the time it takes to move goods across borders. But we are not only looking at movement of goods across borders where we want to make the environment friendly for trade. We're also looking at making it competitive for our traders and exporters to take advantage of the continental free trade area, which is obviously a priority for SACU as well.
All right, so you mentioned technology. The countries are very differently resourced, and I suppose that then becomes a challenge. How do we get everybody on the same page? I see Lesotho has made leaps and bounds recently with the technology that it's enabled there. And then, you know, I drive from South Africa, cross the border into Zimbabwe, and the experiences are different.
Mm-hmm. Well, Zimbabwe is obviously not a member of SACU, but yes, at the end of the day, also we need to look at it from a wider region, Southern African region, which includes SADC. But for us, within SACU, I'll give you just one example. We have obviously now adopted IT connectivity as one of the priorities.
Yeah.
And what that means is we want to ensure that our systems are compatible and we can clear and share information in real time. And this is something that we are actually now busy with. At the moment, we have succeeded to do that between South Africa as a hub with all the individual member states, that is Botswana, Eswatini, Lesotho, and Namibia. The next phase is to now have interconnectedness amongst all our member states. And what that does really is to, again, improve efficiency. If you don't need to have the same information processed twice when you cross the border, you significantly reduce the time it takes to cross the border.
All right, so what came out of this gathering so far?
Well, the seventh summit of heads of states focused on two issues. That was the report from the Council of Ministers, which highlighted the progress made in terms of the implementation of the SACU work program. And we emphasizing the SACU work program because we have had to refocus our work program to focus on industrialization as an overarching objective, and linked to that also export, investment attraction, and also to consider options for financing industrialization, trade facilitation and logistics, as well as the African Continental Free Trade Area. Those are the key priorities. But what we are doing is to use industrialization as a basis to enhance and broaden our industrial base in selected priority sectors, which is agro-processing, textiles and clothing, pharmaceuticals, essential oils and cosmetics. In agro-processing, we have leather and leather products, meat and meat products, and fruit and vegetables. And really, we want to use that as a basis for the development of regional value chains, and doing so also to take full advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area. So ultimately, we want to position ourselves as a hub for industrialization and innovation, which will then broaden the scope of production and also improve our exports with, of course, the African Continental Free Trade Area in mind. So the heads of states were briefed about that and the work that we have done. Of course, most recently in April, we held an investment forum, investment roundtable, and that was again aimed at promoting projects in these selected sectors. But what the heads of states have also directed is for us, in light of the current global and geopolitical challenges that are taking place, that are obviously affecting our economies, is also to look at production of food, because clearly food safety is becoming a real challenge. Fertilizer is becoming a challenge, and so we also, the heads of state have also directed the Council of Ministers to look at these priorities, because these are obviously of immediate nature.
All right, so I was reading something somewhere that says that some of the agreements that you're working with are 20 years old, and that an overhaul is required. And this has lent itself to issues such as revenue management and smaller members of the union struggling with the volatility. Is that something that's being addressed?
Okay, I don't know what agreements you are referring to that are over 20 years old, but of course the SACU agreement of 2002, obviously maybe that's the one. And yes, there are various elements in the agreement that we have been looking at for years. For example, the review of the revenue sharing formula is something that we've been talking about for years. We have not been able to reach consensus, and as a result, we agreed to put that on hold for the medium term while we focus on areas where we can make progress, which is why, for example, we're now focusing on industrialization. Volatility in relation to the customs revenue is a reality, and is also influenced by what is happening globally, which directly impact on our economies. And so also the discussions that we are having in SACU is to see what measures and buffers we can put in place to cushion member states against such fluctuation in revenue shares. But this is an ongoing conversation that is obviously taking into account the current situation that we are facing, and the economic challenges coming from that also.
So the experience for people moving goods and services, do you feel that that is improving with time?
Well, actually, in SACU, I mean, we tend to, I always say we tend to take what we have for granted, because a supplier can call or a trader can call a supplier in Johannesburg from, say, Gaborone in the same afternoon, goods can actually reach Gaborone. Things work. This is at least one thing that we are proud of as a customs union, is that it works, it functions. Of course, there are other issues that we need to address, but what we are looking at is, of course, improving and taking into account changes in technologies and advancement in technology that we should take advantage of in order to ensure that continuously we are competitive, our traders are competitive, and we also reduce the cost of trade over time.
All right. What are they saying to you, the traders? What is their biggest concern?
Some of it relates to, and it's interesting you're asking that question,
yes,
because we had sectoral roundtables that preceded the investment roundtable, and of course, focusing on the priority sectors, textiles, clothing, meat and meat products, and leather products, etc. Of course, there are issues around harmonization of procedures at borders, for example, issues around access to financing, depending on which sector and what activities they are involved in, issues around, obviously, standards that also need to be harmonized. And so these are some of the issues that we are also addressing now in the trade facilitation and logistics program, because we are looking at not only improving efficiency generally, we're also looking at border management of borders to ensure that there's efficiency. We are also looking at behind the border measures. Issues related to standards, for example, are some of the issues that we are looking at. And really ultimately ensuring that we enhance efficiency. I'm quite also happy that at the meeting of the Council of Ministers that preceded the summit, the Council approved a proposal from the revenue authorities. And I must say, we have an excellent coordination mechanism in place between our revenue authorities. And they have made a proposal to adopt a regional authorized economic operators. And what that does is really giving preferences to traders who meet certain requirements and standards when it comes to cross-border trading, border crossing.
Yeah.
And so this is an exciting program for us. And I keep saying this is a game changer for SACU, and certainly we'll see even better and increased efficiency in this space, and something that certainly we want the private sector to watch this space, because we'll be working closely with the trading community.
All right, perhaps as a final thought, the African Continental Free Trade Area, how does that fit in with SACU? Contextualize it for us and how they work together.
Well, SACU is a sub-regional community. And so obviously we are within the wider continental agreement. Now, as a customs union in the first place, we do enter into trade agreements with third parties as an entity, as SACU. And so because we have a common external tariff. So what it means then, first of all, for us, all our member states are obviously members of the African Union, and so we are party to the Continental Free Trade Area. We are currently in the process of negotiating amongst ourselves the tariff offer that will be presented to the AfCFTA to facilitate trade, and in which we are stipulating the concessions that we are extending to all other trading partners. Now, we have, as a matter of principle, also prioritize the African Continental Free Trade Area, its implementation, and of course, generally as an agreement, because we see that as an agreement that provides opportunities to expand our markets within the continent, but also as we are talking about industrialization, we want to position ourselves to take advantage of that, of the market opening that will come about as a result of the liberalization from the African Continental Free Trade Area. So it's a huge market, and we want to make sure that we benefit from that. That is one opportunity for us to, as we look at expanding our industrial base, to really then anchor what we do in terms of industrialization to the African Continental Free Trade Area and the opportunities that it is providing for our products, be it exporting or sourcing from the rest of the continent.
Ms. Elago, that's where we'll leave it. Thank you very, very much indeed, and for helping us understand the functions and the ambitions of SACU, because it is of a great benefit to all of us, even if we weren't always aware. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me, Peter.
Great, thank you. That's Paulina Mbala Elago, who's the Southern Africa Customs Union Executive Secretary, speaking to us, the President of South Africa, who's in Botswana, for the SACU meeting that's just been taking place.